worse. My concern is that the majority of the patients that I see here in this office, this very office, who come to me because they've been treated for chronic Lyme disease, is that they don't have any evidence of ever having had Lyme disease once. Ever. Not now, not a year ago, not 5 years ago. They didn't have the rash, they never had a positive blood test, they never had anything.
You see, class, my Lyme disease turned out to be psychosomatic.
Does that mean you're crazy? No, that means she was faking it.
No, actually, it was a little of both.
I was originally told at the very beginning that I had a very deep psychological problem.
They were telling me it wasn't real.
They said I needed to see a psychiatrist.
You need to see a psychiatrist.
He told me, no, it's not Lyme. You don't have the rash. You are depressed.
You're faking it. You need to get mental help.
You're a teenager. Get up and walk. She doesn't want to go to school. She's just depressed.
You think you're crazy, but I'm not. I know I'm not crazy. This thing screws you up big time.
Tally-ho. Let the drag begin. But where we are now is a town in Cape Cod, and Cape Cod is considered to be endemic for Lyme disease. Oh, I'm good. This is a male deer tick that we picked up from the ground on our very first 30-second drag. This is a deer tick nymph. This is the second stage. They'll feed on a host for 5 days, maybe, and that's how Lyme disease is transmitted. It just doesn't seem possible that this poppy seed-sized thing is going to make you bedridden, possibly for the rest of your life. Now we're trying for a deer tick female. That'll complete the trinity. And here we are. The trinity is complete. There are 2 females. Let's call them Thelma and Louise. And they're on the hunt. Oh, there's another male. There's another nymph. We get another nymph. So our odds of getting Lyme disease here are going up. Despite years of education, the incidence of Lyme disease has been raised by 40% from last year. It's only going up.
This is all tick habitat, everything we're driving by here. And Lyme is turning up in states where it's never been known. I mean, I grew up in this part of the world and we didn't have a problem with Lyme disease that we know about. I'm convinced that in the long run that what we're going to learn is that we're seeing a process of ecological change. Living in the largest extinction in 65 million years of other forms of life. While many species are dying out, viruses and bacteria are finding new opportunities. Warming climates, jet travel, and human expansion into wildlife habitats are favoring diseases that jump from animals to people. Diseases we're not prepared for.
It's possible that years ago the patients were only getting pure Lyme disease, and this might explain why the literature, there's such a disparity, where some people say, oh no, Lyme doesn't look like this. What we're now seeing is these ticks are containing multiple organisms. They're not just containing Borrelia burgdorferi, the organism that causes Lyme, but they're containing Ehrlichiosis, Babesia microti. It's a malaria-like organism. When you get Lyme and Ehrlichia and Babesia and Bartonella henselae, cat scratch fever, and Mycoplasma fermentans and viruses, the immune system gets overwhelmed. I'm not sure years ago all of these co-infections were present as they are now. Now the patients who are coming in to see me are multiply co-infected. They're much, much sicker, and it's because it's no longer just Lyme.
Ticks are very sensitive to dryness. Their bodies desiccate easily, and in dry weather they hide deep in mossy crevices on the barks of trees, or in the leaf litter, or in wood rat nests. Damp weather, however, makes them more active, and they come out and stand around the tips and branches and blades of grass by trails like hitchhikers at a freeway on-ramp. I want us to see clearly how things are really going with nature. We have not succeeded in developing any level of independence from it, nor in fact are our bodies in any way independent of it. We've always said, well, you know, sooner or later, some of the damage that we do to the earth can come back to people. But I think at some visceral level, we've expected we could evade it. And I think now maybe some of that bill is coming due, and we're beginning to see some ecological changes that are capable of invading people's bodies.
A spirochete is a parasite, like a virus is a parasite. It has to adapt to different environments. So you could have a very virulent disease-producing organism. You could have one that likes to go to the joints and doesn't want to penetrate and cause injury in the brain. You could have one that goes to the skin.
One of the hallmarks of the onset of untreated Lyme is a multi-system involvement. Different parts of the body, things changing and moving around. We might have a few weeks of body aches, and then you might have a few weeks of headaches, and a few weeks of real profound fatigue, and a few weeks of confusion, or you'll have pain in the large joints, and then it'll switch to the small joints. And then, you know, you're going to a neurologist, then you're going to a bone doctor, then you're going to a stomach specialist, then you're going to a counselor. And they get labeled as being crazy.
Severe headaches.
Cognitive problems.
Fatigue, headaches.
Cardiac arrhythmias.
It hurts on my foot.
Joint pain, I have arthritis.
I'm tired. I hurt.
Involuntary movements. Brain fog.
I lost the use of my right arm.
I became dyslexic.
I had hallucinations.
Blurred vision.
Light sensitivity. It's a long laundry list.
The tests for Lyme disease were developed more than a decade ago. They were controversial back then, and in all this time, no better tests have been approved, even though almost everyone agrees there are problems with the current tests.
About 50% of people who actually have Lyme disease are negative in their test results with existing methods. If you're unlucky and you have real disease, but you test negative, your disease is still real and you still require treatment.
When I got diagnosed with Lyme, I thought, great. Oh, fantastic. Finally I'm going to get rid of this thing. Course of antibiotics, I'll be good to go. I could never have imagined that it would be this long with the possibility of being forever.
Go for Dana.
I'm very scared of actually when the tour ends because I feel like my body will collapse. I'm a little afraid. You know, I'm definitely going on adrenaline, and the pain's getting worse and worse, and I'm getting, you know, more twitchy neurological things. This is a brilliant distraction. So weird, you know, when you're a kid, you think of what your life's gonna be, and I'm 36, I'm gonna be 37, And now, kids and a house and, you know, it's not what I expected. Lyme pushes you to the point of, what do you want? What are you living for? It's not enough just to be alive. I mean,
This is the height of the season for baseball, summer vacations, and Lyme disease. The disease is now being reported in almost every state, and it's reached epidemic levels in some parts of the Northeast.
The newest research indicates that tiny bacteria pose a special risk during pregnancy, since an expectant mother may not know she's infected.
We have examples of infection causing miscarriage. We have examples of infection causing death of the baby at the time of birth or shortly after birth.
I've had 4 miscarriages, 2 of which were positive for Lyme disease. And we had an 18-week loss that at 15 weeks was healthy, genetically fine, and at 18 weeks the loss was proven to come from the Lyme infection.
Elise came to me with Lyme disease, and it just so happened that as she was finishing up the treatment, she got pregnant. And we followed her with the pregnancy, and she was doing fine initially, and all of a sudden she miscarried.
2 weeks later, the OB came back and said, you were right, it was Lyme disease. The baby was infected, the fetus and the placenta were infected, Elise, and concluded that that's what took the life of this baby at 18 weeks.
In utero, fetal transmission of Lyme disease to a fetus is something that has been of concern to patients and physicians for many years. We've looked carefully at that. There have been numerous studies. There has not been one documented case of congenital Lyme disease.
Well, that's nonsense, plain and simple. And it's not only nonsense, there's significant peer-reviewed articles showing transmission transplacentally and at autopsies. It's just nonsense. How could that not be? It doesn't even stand up physiologically. It makes no sense.
Trying to have another baby has been very frightening. When I get excited about having a baby, I squish it. I don't let myself get excited because I'm so afraid of setting myself up for that disappointment again. And a day for me is like a lifetime. And every visit to the doctor is filled with fear. Every time I listen to that Doppler come down to my belly, I wonder, is there going to be a heartbeat today?
At this point, I have had many women who've gotten pregnant who've lost the baby. Or they give birth to a baby that has Lyme, and the babies don't have, the developmental growth may be off, their IQ may be lower, they may develop seizures or some other type of neurological problem, and it's not picked up because the mother was not known to have Lyme.
You can't imagine this, how could you?